Ah,
quindi no,
Yeah, I couldn't get it off, so I reset my phone.
That is Tony, right?
I was outside walking up, you know?
All right.
Oh, man.
Let us call this meeting to order. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Cleveland. Present. Councilman Sotzenheimer.
Here.
Councilman Jackson.
Here.
Councilman Evans.
Present.
Councilman Nelson is outside. Councilman Hahn.
Present.
Councilwoman Rosso.
Present.
Councilwoman Campbell is absent. You have a quorum.
Deb, you okay, man?
Thank you.
No, bronchitis.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't want to.
Is
Just
there,
came home from the hospital sick and then I got it and I got it worse.
Wow.
is there a motion to approve the, tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Item 1, discussion of the strategic planning process. In the packet, Sam has his report and recommendations. And I tell you, I'm very much in favor of this alternative 1. It is $6,000, but it does get a mailer to every resident. It's very involved, and in addition to the questionnaire itself, I'm sorry?
I was looking for this, I didn't see it.
Oh, it's right, the page right behind the agenda.
Right behind the agenda, okay.
Yep. So there's a, opinion research specialists. Not only do we get the survey out to every resident, with the exception of UMSL students, they've got an analysis process that takes this raw data and makes meaningful information out of it. I don't think we have the capacity to do that here. And I'm, like I say, I would recommend, as Sam does, this alternative 1. I want to hear from the rest of the council. Did we put together,
My only issue.
okay, go ahead.
Can they do it online?
Yeah, so, everyone will get a mailer, and they can either, and there will be business reply mail, so they can either send that in the mail, or
Or do it online.
there will be a link to complete it online.
Okay, good.
And what, I do think that's the best option if you want a statistically valid survey, and something that we can really rely on. And then, if we're interested in that, then we can start working with, the opinion research specialists, people, they have a group contract through the MML, and also I'm familiar with, the principal's work. Mark Ellickson, he was actually a professor at, my university. So we can do that, and then I would recommend that the council pick 3 or 4 council members, and then we have a meeting to come up with questions for the survey.
Yes, please.
So why wouldn't they generate questions for us?
Well, they do, they have a, and I can email this out after the meeting, they have a sample survey, and they have plenty of other questions, but, sample questions. But if we're gonna use the survey for the strategic plan, we should look at our SWOT analysis and those problems we identified, and then what questions do we need answers for, and then point the questions in that direction.
It's just an
So-
opportunity to customize it to our
I'm sure we
needs.
will use plenty of the sample questions, but we'll wanna customize it for ourselves. And we can customize all the questions, we get one open-ended question, meaning that it's not multiple choice, they can just write in whatever they want. And then there's also demographic questions, and you get cross tabs, so you know what, depending on what demographic questions you ask, you can know what certain sex of, what males and females, or people over the age of 50 versus under the age of 50. And then they even said you can ask them what their ward is, and then you can cross tab by ward as well, so.
Did you research other groups, other organizations that do this?
I didn't get any quotes from any other independent, or from any consultants, but I'll tell you, the price of $6,000 is pretty,
That's cheap.
it's pretty good, and, I mean, it's a pretty, standard service. I mean, they're gonna give us a statistically valid survey.
And this is about $1.05 per resident, $1.10 per resident, thereabouts.
Cause I know.
Closer to
someone that
$1.40, I think.
15,000, that's what he charges to start, yeah.
Well, I mean, just considering postage alone, that'd be.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
significant.
And they have the business reply mail permit, so they,
Right.
that's why
They
they can
get
get a
that
good
discount.
price.
Sure.
Are these 4 pages, 4 pages?
Yeah,
Wow.
Really?
Is that what the residents get, 6 pages?
yeah. So,
Or is that too much?
well, yeah, there is survey fatigue, so you don't wanna just, but that all, we'll work with the, I mean, that's why I think getting into the questions, we should pick some
Right,
council
if we,
members to-
if it's the council's pleasure to move in this direction with these people, I think a committee of about 3 people, if somebody wants to
I'll
volunteer,
volunteer.
to work on these questions and cater it more to our needs. Thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to work on the questionnaire? Which, like I say, there's gonna be a lot of canned language in there already prepared, but if we wanna customize it to address what we already know from our SWOT analysis, what we perceive as challenges for the city.
So you'll offer it to people who aren't here? And what about involvement with residents? If residents want to be on the committee?
I had not considered that. I just
We
haven't.
talked about, I thought we talked about something.
Well, I thought the resident input, not necessarily sitting on this committee, but this is gonna engage the residents just by the fact that we're conducting this survey. They're gonna have plenty of input. I think I would prefer that the council, because we were involved in this SWOT analysis and have a better handle on what information we're trying to gather from the general public, it would be better served if we had volunteers.
Yeah, it's just gonna be, it should just be 1, maybe 2 meetings.
And I will say Yolanda may be interested in this. I expected her tonight, and she unfortunately couldn't make it with very short notice. She ran into an emergency. So,
I could probably take this on.
this sounds like it's right down your alley, so I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
it's
Yeah, these two
what I
there,
do,
you
but
and him,
still.
yeah.
I
not.
was waiting on you, David.
Like, did you see me? I'm like, no.
Right, yeah, you said no, but David was like, come on, David.
Do it, David.
Andy, should we have a motion to engage this company in the amount not to exceed?
Well, we can get right now I just have an email quote.
Okay.
We can get a contract and do
Perfect.
that at the next meeting.
Yeah,
Good.
get a
Do it in the
formal
form of a
resolution
resolution.
together.
And then we'll have more time to solicit this, members for this committee too. Good. So any other input on this? Anybody, does this sound like a reasonable direction to go?
Yeah.
So what's the time frame then? I mean, they seem organized, so once we get the ball rolling,
Yeah, I can get a clearer picture on that, but it shouldn't take very long. I mean, you wanna allow a period for people to respond to,
yeah.
but, I would say in probably in 3 to 4 months, we could have, the results from the survey.
Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah, it's moving pretty
Yeah.
quick, so.
You see, so what if we don't get the amount of surveys back that we want?
Well, yeah, so in order for it to be statistically valid, I think we need about 300 to 400 responses, somewhere in that range, which is why we're sending a mailer to everybody. So we're gonna get the best response we can. Generally, they send out 3,000, and if you have less than 3,000 households, they just send it out to everybody. That's how they're. And so we had moving UMSL housing, we have about 1,800 housing units. And this includes multifamily as well. And so we're gonna send it out to everybody, we're gonna get the best response that we can.
I'd be shocked if we didn't get back 300. I really would.
Yeah,
Especially with the students.
So what would be the next plan? Do we do phone calling? Do we do visits? If that doesn't come back, I mean,
I think for it to be
See what it is.
statistically accurate,
Yeah.
I don't think you could do that.
yeah,
oh,
I mean,
got it,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not super worried about it, but if it does happen, I mean, there's nothing we could could do, because if you try and get more responses after that, then it's not.
You'd,
gonna
you'd be soliciting a selective group, and that just blows the,
We'll see. Hope for the best.
yeah.
Brandon, yes.
All right,
But we can tell residents that a survey is coming though, right?
oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely, that's
Because
encouraged.
we've been doing that, yeah.
And we can post it on the website, please look out for it. It's
Also
important that
with
we
our-
get feedback from the community.
Yeah, also with our community events through our Parks Department, for instance, our Parks Board, I should say, or anytime we have any public meetings. I don't know, would it be beneficial to have it where, with court or no?
No.
Most of those are not
That-
residents.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. All right,
Well, if we announce it at the meeting and it's posted on the website and a mailer arrives in the mail,
sure.
people are aware.
Okay.
I agree.
Could we have hard copies at the meeting? I don't know. I mean, I just. it was-
They're gonna get it, everybody's gonna get one, every household's gonna get one.
We hope the mail gets there.
Yeah, well,
That's
that's
the
true.
other thing.
Well, at least you're reaching out to the citizens,
Yeah,
so
that's like
if,
3 to 4.
if they fill it out, they fill it out. If
Yes.
they don't fill it out, that's on the citizens. So we can't make them fill it out. We're reaching out, and that's the best thing we can do at this point.
All right. Moving on. Item number 2, discussion of Council Bill 23-31, an ordinance of the city of Normandy, Missouri, amending chapter 405. This is the mixed-use district, and the only thing unresolved was the parking regulations in what we are gonna, when we create this new mixed-use district.
There are a few changes if or
Please.
unless Sam, you wanted to
Yeah,
take it.
I'll try, and if I miss anything, let me know. So, the, everything is redlined and blue lined in here.
Is that the next,
Yeah, the ne-
document?
Yes, as it says, 11 pages. So on page 9, you'll see we added a parking table, so this tells you how many parking spaces you have to have by use. This was taken from the city of Florison's code, but then the numbers were adjusted down because frankly, I thought that their parking minimums were a little higher than maybe what we're looking for here. And
Excuse me, I saw it on the computer, but are you saying 9 of 11?
9 of 11 is the parking table.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if you're a barber shop, you have to have 1 space for each employee and 1 space for each service chair. Or if you're a furniture store, you have to have 2 per 1,000 of gross floor area, so that's square footage. If you go to one page after page 11, you'll see I did just a kind of ad hoc inventory of Natural Bridge and the different properties and what the parking ratios are based off of parking spots to square foot. You'll see that we have properties ranging from 0 parking spaces to 109 parking spaces and ratios from under 1 to all the way up to 10 plus. So after looking at the inventory, that's why basically we took the floors and codes and revised them down to be less restrictive. And then just real quick, the other changes, the changes about the fencing and the buffers were implemented by Andy, so that text is in there. There was a few changes on the use as well, adding some ones that weren't listed, which would have outright prohibited them to special use, so that's daycares, kennels, funeral homes, and self-storage.
And those were all added to special use.
Special.
Yeah, and then restaurants with no drive-through were added to special. That was in permitted before.
It wasn't permitted.
Yeah. And so the council can move it back to permitted, but
Going back to the fencing, didn't we have to determine how tall? I think we
Yes,
decided
yes, I was gonna
30.
bring that up, yeah, so that is one thing that still needs to be determined. I took out all the landscape buffer, the council had decided that the landscape buffer was unnecessary, that the fence was all that was required. So yeah, all that's required for the council on the fence is a determination of what the minimum and maximum heights are going to be.
I can tell you 8 foot was brought up. I thought that was excessive. I mentioned 6 foot, and
6 feet.
everybody was gonna kind of drive around and look at some fences, and decide what they thought was
Do
appropriate.
council members have a
I'm 6 feet.
kind of,
Yeah.
well, 6 feet period,
Oh,
that's
6
the
feet.
end, like,
6
that's,
feet
it's just,
is
the
the-
fences are 6 feet, or are you interested in a range, like
Well,
6
you
to 8
know,
or 4 to 7,
I feel like if it's too high, it's gonna look like a prison. You know what I mean? Like we're trying to keep something in, something out. You know, it just looks gaudy. So
And I will tell you, a lot of prefabricated fences aren't gonna come 8
I
feet.
know
no,
this, but
right,
on
6
the,
feet. That's as high as they're going. 6 feet.
Go ahead.
Behind the Chinese restaurant, they have wooden fence, and it looks like it's like 5'5". It's like a little bit taller than me,
Probably 6 feet.
and it looks good. I mean, it's,
Mm-hmm.
you're not 6 feet, you're taller than 6 feet.
6'2".
Yeah, well, it's 2 inches.
Yeah.
So-
Well, you
So
know,
it may be, it may
they,
be shorter.
but they tell you it's 6 feet, but once you put it in, it's kind of like 5'9" or 5.
So if we want if we think 6-foot fences are appropriate, should we put a range 5.5 to 6.5 feet?
I'd say just 6.
Up to 6 feet.
Uniform
Yeah, just
across
6.
the
Up to 6 feet,
barrier.
Yes,
across the
6 would be
district.
good.
up to 6 feet.
All right,
Up to 6.
whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna reword this a little bit, cause right now what I'm writing in is it's gonna say, shall be no shorter than 6 feet nor taller than 6 feet. Seems a little redundant, but I'll fix that for,
Thanks, Andy.
for the council. I think that was it on,
I did have one question
Well,
on
don't you
on
take
that.
well,
into account what Tony said about once they put it in, it looks shorter. So if you say 6 feet, we're buying 6 feet, fence. And if it's installed and it's shorter, then that's it. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not gonna,
I mean, that would get dealt with on the inspection. I mean, it's just,
Yeah. I think the
how
intent
closely is
right.
it enforced?
Yeah.
Allowing for variance.
And the thing about it, if you already prefabricated, it's gonna be about 5'10", 5'9". But if you build from scratch, you can get it up to 6 feet. That's how it normally works.
I do have a question on that same page 5, section 405B. The constructor of redwood,
Yes.
cedar, treated or composite, and shall be of a standard picket or shadow box. What I'm concerned about is the standard picket treated wood. That's a stockade fence. And those are usually pretty cheap and don't look very good. Is there any case where we would say treated wood is appropriate? Nobody uses it anyway.
What, treated wood?
Yeah, for a fence, you're using cedar or composite or vinyl
Well,
or,
they're using treated now because they come in that cedar tone, you know?
Yeah, I have that.
Right,
Next door to
cedar
me.
tone and it,
okay.
yeah,
But what, my concern is the prefab
the prefab
stockade
panels, yeah.
panels that look like junk and fall
Right.
apart after
And
one
see,
year.
that's what I was telling Debbie, they come in and build it from scratch, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? But the prefab stuff, it don't.
Or should we just, I mean, we've got enforcement tools in place now, it's just more work. Anyway, that's a concern of mine, is it a concern of anybody else's? I just wanted to
certainly
bring
if the
that
fence
up.
is not kept in good repair, that's,
Yeah.
a code enforcement issue, but, it's better to get something in place that's not gonna require repeated enforcement, so it's up to the council as far as how you wanna construct this. This is just a jumping off point.
Is prefabricated stockade specific enough to address what I think is
To
pretty
rule
common out there?
out,
Yeah,
to rule
To
out.
rule out,
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's fair, because otherwise it would be a little financially burdensome for a business owner coming in, like, just to try to play devil's advocate. But I think if we eliminate that as an actual option, like, that's the one thing you cannot have, I think I'd be okay with that.
So I can add something to the effect of, after fences required under this section shall not be constructed of any material or in any design other than those specifically identified herein, nor shall prefabricated stockade fences be allowed.
I think that's good.
Okay,
Yes.
so we can leave the treated wood and the standard
Yeah, yeah.
picket, so
Yeah,
it's-
everything else
there's
is
still, they
Yeah,
can play into
my
the,
concern is very specific to that
Sure.
common material that's out there, and they cost about nothing to.
$35
drive.
a
Yeah,
pound,
yeah.
and they fall down
Okay.
next year.
Can we jump back to parking?
Yes.
Go ahead.
real quick? So on page 3 and 4, there's also some added provision with kind of how parking spaces get calculated, and, which is pretty standard, but also, There's a non-conforming use provision in here regarding parking spaces. So basically, if they add on to their building or a use changes, then the parking changes change with them. But if they stay their use that they've always been, then obviously they don't have to close down. Also, there's a requirement that parking spaces have to be within 500 feet of the building. And 2 or more owners of buildings may join together in providing required parking spaces. So this allows for parking sharing in the mixed-use district. And this is something that I think we would want to change our parking code overall, but right now, we can at least put it in the mixed-use district right now. And then also, there's this final provision, which I know came up with the special use permit application that we're about to talk about. It would allow parking spaces to be changed on the special use permit. So, with the way it is right now on the special use permit, if they meet the parking requirements, that's it. It's not a condition you can really attach to tell them to have more parking. This would, in the mixed use district, allow you to determine, to vary from the parking regulations on a special use permit, if a reasonable.
I actually didn't catch that. Where is that written?
That's letter D.
Okay, I missed that.
So,
Repeat that again?
the number of parking spaces required in conjunction with the special use permit may be modified by the city council if conditions for such special use warrant a variance from the above requirements.
More flexibility to the council if they predict a
Give
problem.
an example. Give an example.
So,
If a
If a
that's a
bar-
very specific example. Yeah, if a bar comes in and you don't think that they have enough parking, but they meet the bare minimum requirements, you can vary from the bare minimum requirements. Right now, we cannot do that.
So, when everybody has an opportunity to digest this, Sam did spend some time on the road putting this together. My question to the council is this ready for a second reading at the next meeting, or do we need more time to digest this?
One thing I'd like to also add is, these uses in attachment B here on page 9 and 10, these were pulled from the fluorescent code. I pulled the uses that are relevant, but, there's also always gonna be some discretion in the city trying to, fit some of these uses that are explicitly mentioned in attachment A that are not explicitly referenced in attachment B and what do they fall under. The categories can be as specific or as general as we want them to be, right?
Well-
So if the council would like to reduce the number of categories into more generalized categories such as retail under 5,000 square feet, retail over five,
Well, and that's where I was
and-
going.
yeah,
I don't
right.
think we're ready for a second reading at the next meeting. I'd like people to have an opportunity to read through this, maybe even drive around if they have specific concerns. And to your point, I just don't think we've had enough time to chew on this. So I'm thinking at least one more workshop with this issue.
I agree.
The park sharing then, if that is in here, is there some requirement that they have to sign a contract or agree that there's gonna be park sharing? 'Cause we've talked about that before.
Yeah, I think they would have to show some proof that they're taking advantage of parking sharing.
They're both agreeing on it.
Yeah, they would have to, if it's just a permitted use and it's not coming to the council, they would have to provide that to City Hall before we would grant an occupancy permit.
And who's covering insurance if something happens on each other's property?
It's a private matter. Yeah, they just need to show proof that they're taking advantage of that option. And so, I don't think it would put any liability on the city.
Andy, how do you feel about that?
I agree that it wouldn't put any liability on the city. I can add some language that will make it clear that there will be some sort of, proof of the agreement, right? And again, the insurance, the city's not responsible for what happens on private property, right? So if there's some issue that a patron of restaurant A is parking on shop B's lot and something happens and they sue shop B, like that's between the two of them to figure out, not the city.
Yeah, also, there is a requirement in here that they have to record any agreement on the deed. So that way they can't, new owner, they change their mind and now they're non-conforming. So it's gonna, whatever agreement they enter into should stick.
Okay. I think everybody needs to do some more reading and some more research and some, like, digest this information. Nothing else on that, we'll move on. Item number 3, discussion of Council Bill 24-6, granting Honey's Cafe a special use permit. I will tell you at the meeting, there was a vote to make the operating hours 9 o'clock on weekdays, 10 o'clock on weekends. That failed. We had a vote for operating hours 10 o'clock on weekdays, 11 o'clock on weekends. That passed. I would ask that the council consider a third option. And that is 9 o'clock on Sunday through Thursday, because this does back up to a residential area. Keep the 11 o'clock weekend hours, that's reasonable, but I don't know how many restaurants, if any, stay open past 9 o'clock on weekdays. I will tell you, the bar down in Ferguson, the brewery down there, they close at 9 o'clock. And they got a huge bar, a nice bar, all kinds of craft beers and a good whiskey selection, and they close at 9 o'clock on weekdays, and they don't have any issues down there. They don't have problems.
Same thing
The point
with,
is if it closes at 9, it's really closing at 10. I mean, because by the time the last people come out, you know.
Well,
people
closed at
don't-
9 is closed at 9.
Yeah.
That's last call at
Well, right,
8:15
but
or
there's still
so.
people that came before 9 that are being there and.
No,
finishing
close
their
at
meals.
9
But
is,
see, the thing about it, they know they have to close down at 9. A lot of them shut their kitchen down at 8 o'clock.
Oh.
So whatever you.
Correct.
yeah, closed is
your
closed.
drinking, yeah,
Okay.
they know, they know.
Yeah.
it's the same thing at Fallon's in Olivet. Again, a large bar area with a very large restaurant area as well. I mean, their kitchen shuts down at 8:30 on the dot
That's
because
it.
they close at 9 on the weekdays. Like you go there on a Wednesday night, for instance, like my friends and I do, it's done, and there's no other option. Like everyone's.
Could that be in there, that, you know, the kitchen closes?
Well, we don't
We
need to
can't
do that.
specify
We
that.
just put a closing time, and that's when their doors shut.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
9 o'clock, your doors. See you
Um,
later, bye.
I'd like to hear some feedback from the rest of the council on that idea.
It's
I
a
don't
good
like it.
adjustment.
I don't like it. It should be able to stay open at 10. We already adjusted just about most lounges and bars, depending on what they're trying to, the people that they're trying to have come into their place. 9 o'clock, I think, is just too early on the weekdays. I think 10 is a reasonable time. And I think on the weekend, we already done shortened them from usually 12 to 1 to 10 or to 11 o'clock. So I think we should kind of stick with that. That's just my opinion.
Thank you.
So
David?
was this specifically just for the restaurant, or is this
No, I would
just
do,
for the bar?
whatever we do for the restaurant, we should do for the bar. They're operating
You gotta go hand
Same
in
space.
hand.
with common space, so yeah, I mean, if you allow the restaurant open, there's drinks on the table.
Hard to enforce.
Yeah, it would be very difficult to enforce. We need to do both for,
Yeah, just one
both
bar.
for this,
Sure,
for
we have
both
to have the enforcement.
applications, yeah.
Cause most places, when they say they close at a certain hour, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, they're really closing an hour early. Because they're shutting down, getting ready to close for the
Yeah,
night.
they have to clean.
So, yeah, at 10 o'clock, the owners, they're walking out the door too. You know,
Steve?
I kind of agree with Kevin. We've cut them once. I think that 10 is reasonable. I know that the brew house, I've been down there and I know it's 9 o'clock and they don't have issues, which we did at one time. I think we should give them a try. Is this something we could possibly modify if there's
Well, I will
issues?
tell you, I can answer that question. It's easier to be more flexible down the road. It's very difficult once we issue a permit to operate, to make it more restrictive.
I got you. I see what you're saying.
No one would object to being less restrictive in a year if we got a good track record.
You can revoke it if we're violating conditions.
Right,
Right.
you can, I mean, the modification process is the same either way. You are correct, though, as far as like, getting pushback from the permit holder, like, you're not gonna get pushback if you're less restrictive down the line, you are gonna get pushback if you're
I got you.
attempting to
Restrict.
restrict.
Thank you, Steve. Debbie?
I agree with you, Mark.
Karen?
Oh, I think 10 o'clock is reasonable too.
Same here.
I don't hear enough support to take it further. It sounds like 10 o'clock is where the council is at.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said earlier, 10 o'clock, if they close at 10 o'clock, believe me, 9 o'clock, they're trying to get up out of
They're
there,
done.
cleaning up, so
They're
when
done.
10 o'clock hits, they're walking out the
And for the
door.
most part, you gotta
Yeah.
think between Sunday, Monday, it's probably not gonna be too many.
Yeah, they
people.
probably leave earlier than that.
Right, so you
You
figure
know?
Monday,
All right.
Tuesday, the main days is probably gonna be, for
Right.
the stay open, it's gonna be
Especially Monday,
maybe
Tuesday,
Wednesday,
yeah.
Thursday, when people gonna start.
Okay,
Friday,
so
Saturday, and Sunday.
my intention obviously is to have a second reading on our next regular meeting on both of these permits. Is there any other input, concerns, suggestions? Are we, everybody's in the, it sounds like everybody's very close to the same place.
10 o'clock.
And on Friday and Saturday, they close at 11 on Friday and Saturday.
Friday and Saturday's 11 o'clock, yes. That's what's written
Yeah.
right now.
And just by the way, so this, if you look in here, it's got all the updated language from the last meeting that Andy wrote out. So, yeah, this is the most up-to-date version.
Then I think that kind of narrow will keep the rowdy people away. Because the rowdy people don't get out of bed till 9 o'clock and get out in the street.
Then we gotta
And
look
if you
at,
look at, like
we
I
gotta look at-
said, the businesses down Natural Bridge, they're all closed at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, and so if we're gonna keep with the culture and what's already established, and with the residents around and in the back,
Yeah.
I would say keep with what the tradition is of all the other businesses.
But see, can I just say, but what I've noticed too is that from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock or to 9 o'clock, she wasn't really that busy. About 9:30, 10 o'clock, that's when everybody showed up. You know, and started packing the lots and running
So if we're
across.
open till 10, then that last hour, people are gonna be rushing in and,
No, they ain't gonna be rushing in for a half hour. They wanna stay for about 2 or 3 hours.
Right,
Yeah, you don't
That's
go
why,
nowhere
that's why
until
they would
say
go
you
somewhere
can-
else.
Exactly.
Right.
For,
That's
for
going,
a different intent, for a different purpose.
cause the majority of them gonna say, oh man, they closed too early. I ain't
Yeah.
doing that.
Right,
Karen, you don't come out. They closed too early.
right.
I can't, by the time we get a drink, we gotta go.
Yeah.
right.
If I wanna go somewhere at 1 AM, I'm probably going to Pops, for instance. I can't go anywhere in St. Louis.
You go to
Right.
Starbucks.
You're speaking from experience.
Kevin, please.
I've seen the sunrise at Pops. It
Yeah,
happens.
nothing wrong with that.
It happens.
we was over there together. You was on one side, I was on the other.
Sorry.
Okay, so what I was gonna say is that, okay, we did restrict them and that they're cool with it.
Yep.
I think where I'm having a problem is we keep comparing this new business to the
To the old.
previous business. I don't like that.
Right.
We had a difference in age of the owner because, well, I did know the owner's aunt. And after I spoke with the owner about what was going on, after I started coming to the council and finding out what was going on, the owner, aunt told me, whenever y'all shut it down, just shut it down. Because she already knew what she was dealing with, or what we were dealing with. Now, when we get to Honey's, you got a couple of 60-year-old people. They're not getting ready to let people come in there. You got a non-for-profit. they're dealing with kids,
They're not
they're
letting.
dealing with, I mean, in the morning.
Right.
So this is the type of people, even though the evening is gonna be different than the morning, these are the type of people that's gonna be in Huntington.
Yeah, they know
It's not the
that.
young
The
35-year-old
grandkids,
that
they
wanna
gonna let
kick
the
it
grandkids hang out,
and
yeah.
get, and let's get hyped and let's turned up all night. I don't think this business is like that. And I'm willing, well,
Discrepancies of them, parking on the sidewalk, of having a soft, opening, and disregarding that was even before the occupancy permit. So there's some habits, bad habits that are, being acted on, and without any discretion of it being really not right. And
Mayor, may
so-
I speak to
Please.
Councilman Rosso's concerns about the soft open? Some code enforcement actions have been taken in that regard. So that it has been established that there is no tolerance for any sort of variance from the rules here. So and they're aware of that. Chief Sanders and I had a conversation with them, so.
So, Kevin, that's why, I bring that up, is we want the restaurant, we want that family, kids, the different, kinds of offering of food services, but they certainly didn't start in a real, healthy way in cooperating with the city.
okay, so if we have parking on the sidewalks, that's illegal, right? That's a police matter, so they get a ticket. Or if it comes to the point, they get told. If we wanna do it like that, if we wanna start putting no tire things on them. But people have to be able to understand there's laws and rules and they gotta abide by them. If they don't, we got a police department that we paying good
Well,
money to take care of.
let me summarize this. We're not in complete agreement on this, we're very, very close, and we're not gonna ever be in complete agreement. I personally would like to see the 9 o'clock, I don't have support for that, so, okay. I think where we're at is the majority of the council is in a place where I think we're gonna have a majority in opinion to pass this as written, is what it looks like to me. Now, we'll have the second reading at the next meeting, everybody will have a chance to speak to it, and then we'll take the vote. I don't know that there's I don't think it's gonna be productive to continue everybody reestablishing their position on this.
I agree with that.
Agreed.
All right, moving on. Council Bill 2408, this is the a new sign ordinance. I don't think we had any changes from, did we have a first reading on this?
Yes.
I don't think there's been any questions or changes, or if everybody had a chance, the reason this came to the workshop, so everybody had a chance to read it from last meeting, and any concerns, you could voice them and we can hash them out now. Is there anything in here that you would like to see different than as written?
So you're updating it to be able to
Have I
have,
not created like a
Just for a second,
cover
hold on,
sheet for
please.
this yet?
you speak up.
Okay, I gotta do that.
Okay, I'm sorry, Debbie, go ahead, please.
So I read it, and so what you're doing is updating what the old one was to be able to include the electric city hall sign.
Well, that, and there was some concern about motion signs, electric signs being annoying, and all of that was addressed. There was the concern about what kind of sign is that blow-up guy that distracts everybody? I think
There
that,
was also
yeah,
a number of First Amendment issues that Andy addressed as well, so.
content versus size and place and manner.
That
Those were
matters
all
too.
addressed.
That matters too, yeah, content definitely matters.
Yeah,
I gotta
well, that's gonna
get to the right page here. So is there, again, this was, we had our first reading at the last regular meeting. If there's no suggestions or additional questions,
I don't believe there has been a first reading then, has there? Because I don't believe I've finalized this ordinance, or was,
There was yeah,
that's what I'm
we'll look
confused.
into that.
Okay,
Can,
we'll have to look
I
at that. I'm
actually-
just looking at the version that is in this packet. It doesn't have the ordinance cover page with all the requirements.
did
of
we
the-
bring it up at the last meeting only as a discussion?
No, what we will we'll look into what was in the packet last, it's possible
I can
you
see
just
what I
read the
sent
title
you.
off the agenda. But we'll find out, and if not, then we'll do the first reading.
Yeah, it's not,
Okay.
not a huge deal. I just want to know where we're at.
Oh, shoot, yeah, you're good. I'm looking at this meeting. This way, then.
Okay.
Well, if I had
Might
a
have
first
looked
reading,
at
I
it
should have had a
since.
vote for a
Sorry.
first reading versus just reading it off the agenda.
Yeah.
I typically ask for a vote for a first reading.
Right. And it would have to be second.
Yeah,
We'll get it.
okay, we'll get it straightened
we'll
out.
figure it out,
We'll
yeah.
get it straightened out.
Thank you.
Moving on, Council Bill 2409, the Historic Preservation Ordinance. And there were some changes, and one that I'm asking for, we've right now got 7 people on that commission. It's very difficult to keep 7 people on that commission. And I wanted to address this even before this issue came up, the number of people required on some of our commissions. I would like to change this to a 5-person commission, or if Andy, is it workable to go 5 to 7? I know some other commissions have a range, like planning and zoning has a range as to how many people can be.
Right, well, planning and zoning has a range because that's what's established in the statute.
Okay.
The authorizing statute for the Historic Preservation Commission doesn't dictate how many positions there are on the committee. So it's really up to the council whether you want to have a range or a set number. I think the advantage of the set number is just, you know what it is, right? And the range kind of allows, there's just more opportunities for issues.
Okay, thank you. Well, my position is it's been so difficult to fill commissions and boards, and we're tapping into the same pool of people because they're the ones that continually raise their hand. So I would prefer to have a 5-person Historic Preservation Commission versus a 7-person. I want some feedback on that.
Are all 7 people now wanting to be there? I mean,
Well, one of them can't be because she's my sister-in-law and I can't appoint her. One of them doesn't live in the area.
Yeah, she moved to Ferguson, so.
but I think that they don't have to live in the area to be on
Yeah,
it.
they do.
They do now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of integral to it.
No, me too.
The way I understood this was, we were an advisory board under chapter 130, and going to chapter 450 is a lot tighter, like he said, and that's why they have to live in Normandy now. I personally agree with the 5, strictly because it's so hard to get people
Yeah.
to commit. There is one other quick thing that I want everyone to, so it comes from me. With people being very restrictive now versus before, because they will have, this board will have some power now versus the advisory did not. And I don't say it the correct way, excuse me, Sam, but I would like to see some people put in there as advisory members, non-voting, if that's any way possible. I'll give an example. We have one that can't be there, and she's probably the only truly qualified person we have as of today. So I would like to keep those people on there, not as voting people, just as in like an advisory
So
capacity.
what 405-1130 subsection A currently reads that a member of the city council and a member of the planning and zoning commission shall be appointed to serve as a liaison. They shall be ex officio members. They shall be not voting. And
Right.
so that's
Okay.
exactly, that's
Okay,
exactly.
I just wanted to make sure we're
Yeah.
on the same page here,
Yes.
that's all.
And I've already got in
But-
mind the ex officio
Well,
from planning and zoning.
His question is, can there be appointed extra ex officio?
Extra advisory.
Or can the commission just invite people to come and advise them at their meeting? I mean,
Well,
if
I
they're willing
think
to volunteer.
certainly one of the investigatory, there's a lot of investigatory duties of the Historic Preservation Commission, and certainly, so inviting experts, but also even just, I would say, local residents with knowledge of the history of the area
Yes.
to come offer testimony and about whatever matters before the commission is certainly allowed, yeah. I just think expanding the roster of ex officio members, I'm not sure what benefit you ultimately get out of that, except really lengthening your meeting.
Yeah. Well, that's where I was a little confused, because if you're only gonna appoint so many that's officially advisors or experts,
So what I'm hearing, you're gonna have 5 voting members, a council person, and an ex officio member of planning and zoning.
And a P&Z member.
And in addition to that, they could invite any expert they want to
To
give
come talk about whatever matters.
whatever
before-
issue,
yeah.
yep, okay.
Whatever building or whatever, yeah. Now, right now it reads 7, so does the council want to amend this to 5 members rather than 7 at the mayor's, I mean,
I would like to.
Make a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
yeah, that'd be proper.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to amend to reduce it to 5 members.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else on 2409? Sam, you had other changes?
Well, I'll just say, I mean, there were several changes that Andy and another attorney in his office made. None of them are very substantive, just tweaking language to, you know, just be more compliant with the state statute as opposed to what was attempted to be adopted 14 years ago. So, but not, I mean, it's basically the same ordinance. So, if you go through, you'll find differences, but the main duties and the main processes are all the same.
Okay. If there's no more questions, we'll move on to new business.
New business.
Council Bill 2410. This is another one of those, being consistent with state statute. I'll let Andy address this one. Let me see, but I may have misread that.
I got some stuff.
No, I misread that. I thought we were on a different bill.
I have to leave. Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay,
apologize.
thank you. No, I'll let Sam address this. This is kind
I was
of,
gonna punt to Sam on this.
yeah, this is a biggie. This is a biggie, folks.
So, yeah, in reviewing our ordinances and our budget, we have several different taxes that we levy, different sales taxes. One of them is a half-cent capital improvement tax, so you go down to Lee's Chicken, for every $1 you spend, half a cent goes to, the capital improvement sales tax. Now, in the state of Missouri, there's different rules for St. Louis County. And so in St. Louis County, this half-cent capital improvement tax has this system where there's option 1, where the city who levies the tax keeps 85%, and then 15% goes into the pool. And then option 2, where you're part of the pool and it gets divvied up by population of the members in the pool. So in 1996, for whatever reason, the city of Normandy picked option 1, which I don't know why they did that. We don't really have that much sales tax base. Maybe they thought something was coming. We did some research. There's been some other municipalities who have changed via ordinance. It's Amy's opinion that we can change via ordinance. So all we need to do is pass this ordinance saying that actually we want to be part of option 2, which means when someone goes to Olive Garden in Chesterfield, 15 cents of every dollar they, or well, 0.15 cents of every dollar they spend goes into the pool, which is divvied up by population. From what I can tell from other pool cities, it's about $80 per capita. So we're talking in the range of, depending on what kind of year it is, we're talking about a total income for the capital improvement tax of $342,000, $363,000. Last year we brought in $70,000.
Oh my
So
God.
we're talking about a $270,000 to $293,000 increase just by passing this ordinance.
Let's go with B.
So if we do that, we pass the ordinance tonight if we want to. But,
I noticed that.
How long this been going on?
09? or 7?
96.
95.
Oh, 96.
95,
Oh,
yeah.
my gosh.
96, yeah, 95 is when
In
the
the
cap,
90s.
is when the statute was adopted authorizing this sales tax, and
Nobody bothers to look into it.
I suspect, my understanding of the legislative history here, this was adopted and option one chosen around the same time that the TIF
Yeah.
was, that we recently dissolved.
wow.
So
That's
I
probably-
think the thought was that the TIF was going to
Right.
regenerate Natural Bridge, and then we'd be swimming in sales tax,
Right,
right? But
right.
that didn't work out that way,
Yeah,
so.
so,
And then go back and revise it.
yeah, and I mean, and at first, it was, well, can you change it? But yeah, there's been multiple municipalities that we found out have changed just via ordinance. So.
So for 19
yeah,
years,
if-
this was never addressed.
Yeah, if we pass it, we send notice to the Missouri Department of Revenue, and they could be connecting, or collecting the tax within the next quarter,
Say no,
fiscal quarter. So even before this fiscal year end.
So can you give the quick and ugly to Vicky, so she knows what we're talking about here?
Yeah,
Did you start early? I think it's just.
Well, we always start the workshops at 5:30.
Oh, I was told 6:30. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, capital improvement sales tax, we're switching to the pool option for the capital improvement sales tax. I don't think anyone really realized that we were not in the pool option. And so
Okay.
we're looking at $270,000 to $293,000 increase annually in our capital improvement
It's
sales tax.
ridiculous. That this was
So
never looked at
you were
before.
doing the capital improvement locally and not,
More or less, yeah.
gotcha.
So we lost millions.
Over millions and millions over the
At least
19
2.0.
years that this has never been addressed.
Okay.
At least 3 million.
All right, I don't think there's much debate about this one. Let's get it passed. And I will ask for a second reading at the same meeting on this one, which of course will require a unanimous vote by the council to have that second reading and ultimately get this passed.
Okay.
We don't want to miss a quarter. I mean, there's a quarter delay anyway. We want to make sure that we don't miss an additional quarter. So, thank you, Sam.
Well,
What?
there's nothing preventing us from passing it tonight, is there?
No, as long as we have the unanimous support to have the second reading.
Well, I'll make a motion.
Let me, hang on. Let me get to the ordinance.
Number 14. You want mine?
Is it after the RFP or before the RFP?
Yeah, put it in the agenda.
Sam,
The last ordinance before the RFP.
Okay, it's 2410.
Hold on, I'm right up here.
I got it.
when we were
That's what we're
discussing
talking
Honey's,
Okay.
there's a different name there that I'm not familiar with. Quantrell Lewis?
I got it, Sam. I've got it.
Okay, yeah, we passed that up in the meeting, I can fill you in later if you want. Okay.
Is there a motion for the first reading of Bill 24-10?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Bill 24-10, an ordinance of the City of Normandy, Missouri, amending Section 150.040 to elect that the Director of Revenue collect and allocate the city's existing 0.5% capital improvement sales tax in the manner set forth in Option 2 of Section 94.890.4 revised statutes of Missouri. Is there a motion for a second reading of Bill 24-10?
I'll make a motion for a
Is-
second reading of Bill
I'll second it.
24-10.
We have a motion and we have a second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Cleveland? Yes. Councilman Sachsenheimer?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Councilman Evans?
Yes.
Councilman Nelson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosso?
Yes.
Thank you. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Just made some bacon, man.
Bill 24-10,
Put bacon on the plate.
an ordinance of the City of Normandy, Missouri, amending Section 150.040 to elect that the Director of Revenue collect and allocate the city's existing 0.5% capital improvement sales tax in the manner set forth in Option 2 of Section 94.890.4 .890.4 of the revised statutes of Missouri.
Second reading.
That was the second reading. Is there a motion to adopt Bill 24-10?
I'll make a motion to adopt BO 24-10.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Cleveland.
Yes.
Councilman Saxonhammer.
Yes.
Councilman Jackson.
Yes.
Councilman Evans.
Yes.
Councilman Nelson.
Yes.
Councilman Hung. Oh, sorry. Councilwoman Rosso.
Debbie?
She just,
Yes, can you door be closed? There's some business going on, and I want to be a part of someone's party.
The ayes have it. Motion carries. Bill 24-10 is adopted as ordinance number
806.
806. Thank you. And thank you, Sam. That was a good catch. I appreciate it. He made us some bacon, is right.
Yeah.
Really good. Good job, man.
Only wish I caught it earlier.
Yeah, right. What, 2 years ago?
We were
$500,000.
Joking. Hey, you caught it, man. That's the main thing. You caught it. Hey, you was under duress during that time, so I give you that one down.
Yeah. He couldn't think, man.
I'm sorry.
So what did you do, Sam, just start reading and
That's what
going
he
page
does.
by
He
page?
reads all the time.
Yeah, well, actually, I was looking at a neighboring municipalities' budget, and I was just like, why do they have more money than us? And then, yeah.
Greendale? What's the Greendale's budget you're looking at?
I won't say which one.
Sam, do we have an arrow in here? Because it's very cold.
I think it's set to 75, you may have picked it up. Oh, turn it up.
Is that second reading?
Yep, we passed it.
Good deal.
It's ordinance.
Wait, was that unanimous?
yeah.
There were 3 motions.
We had the first reading, second reading, and we've passed it.
I didn't vote no, Sam.
Okay, item number 2 under new business is discussion of solid waste collection request for proposals. And the big question on this, I mean, it's written, everybody got a chance to look it over, is the level of service that we want to provide. And obviously, the level of service, the higher the level of service, the higher the bids are gonna come in per resident. Do we wanna go on the cheap and have a cheaper service? Do we wanna have the Cadillac? Do we want something in the middle?
I think Buick would do.
Please, go ahead.
Buick would do. I don't know about the high end. I think we've right now got Republic on a separate contract with the rest of Normandy because it was necessary at the time. We've got pretty basic stuff from them. It's $25 a month for residents. In the spring and summer, it increases to $30 because of the pickup of yard waste. There is no bulk pickup at this point. There's no servicing of trash cans, although we probably could use a couple from the city of Normandy in the little park. So it's pretty bare bones. They, of course, provide the containers and so forth. But we have to, there's certain rules that people just don't quite understand yet. But I think one of the things that we would want to look at is whether they offer a senior discount and whether people could take advantage of that, because we have a lot of older people in the municipality. But when we're talking Cadillac, what are we talking about?
Well, we've got pretty much a Cadillac service right now. But what I think we could consider is, for example, bulk pickup. If we had bulk pickup once a month versus once a week, that would save residents money. If we had bulk pickup where you had it once a month, but you had to call in, where they didn't have to drive the entire Normandy footprint to try to find the bulk pickup, that would save us some money. I think that's the one that I was most interested in changing. Go ahead, Sam.
I'll just go over, so right now, we have bulk pickup every week, yard waste every week, recycling, and, solid waste every week. This changes it to solid waste, recycling, and yard waste are still part of that. There's valet service for elderly and disabled. However, what it does change, and this is why we're bringing it to the meeting, so this is just to get us started. Appliances and furniture, so bulk pickup is on a per fee basis. You have to call them, schedule, they say, okay, that's, X amount for us to pick that up, and then you put it out on the curb and they come and pick it up.
And then they bill you.
And the hope for that is that it would reduce the base service.
Got it.
Let me ask a question on that. That applies not only to appliances, but any type of bulk pickup?
Appliances and furniture is what's written out.
And I can anticipate where that would be a problem. Well, how do they tell you what? There's so many odd items you'd like to throw away. So does it require a bid every time you want to throw crap out of your
I can
garage?
tell you from driving around town, that's a service that's used a lot.
Yes. I've seen a lot of mattresses
I
out,
wouldn't mind
too.
seeing the appliance being pay-as-you-go, but I do like the bulk pickup.
What kind of payment are we talking about?
Well, it would depend on what they put in their bid.
Okay.
We only know that the more tailored the service is and the fewer trips that a truck comes into the city, the lower the bid's gonna be.
So the bid sheet asks for them to put a dollar amount per request.
Okay.
So we would know what that is once they submit it.
I'm listening to Victoria, saying that $25, they paying $25 and then $30 in the summer. I mean.
But we don't have bulk pickup.
But we got all of that.
Now,
We
do you have
have a
recycled
lot more
also?
for what we
Yes.
paying, 27?
Not even
28?
that.
No, I think we're sub 25. I think we're at 23 right now.
No, we
No.
went up. And we started off at 23.
I think
It went
we're
up
at
every year.
25 and change.
25, 26, something like that. But it started off like 23, 24, then it went
Yeah.
up to 25.
We're at
So
76 for
we're in
a quarter,
better
76 and change for a
situation.
quarter.
Yeah.
I'm just saying our service right now is a lot better
Yeah, it is.
compared to what she was just explaining.
Yeah. Well, our
We can
price,
work from there.
I'll tell you, our price is gonna go up.
Right.
Absolutely.
Fuel prices and inflation, I
Right.
really anticipate a spike in the fee.
And our contract's only good for till the end of the year.
Right. So I mean, it's something that we have to sit back and really, look at what do we really want? The services of, the mattresses, and that should be broken down, cause we should be able to provide that service.
I tell you what, I'm glad you mentioned the mattresses, because that's really restricted right now. That started with COVID, that you gotta wrap them in
Right.
plastic. We wanna make sure there's no burdensome restrictions like that if you wanna throw a mattress away.
So when we start talking to the contractor, we can get into the nitty gritty.
Okay.
But right now, for a bid, we kinda gotta keep it broader level than that, or else I think it will confuse people.
Well, let's-
It will get confusing.
Let's address very specifics then. What do we want for bulk pickup? Is once a month satisfactory?
That should be good. I think it should be sufficient. You should know what you wanna throw away within that month, then have it that's a waste of basic time and service, cause, the average person probably not throwing something away every
So it'll be
month.
the
I mean, every
same
week.
It would be the same week of every month, every first
Same, yeah.
Monday, or, yeah.
Just like we do, yeah.
Yeah.
So, to change the RFP, so we ask for monthly bulk pickup as to, opposed to per request.
Yes.
Okay.
The only thing I would bring up is, on the other 3 weeks, that doesn't mean they can put it out to the curb.
Exactly.
And, yeah, they gotta put it
Because
out there.
Communicated.
I've seen that countless times, and he's laughing, but he sees it too. If you're gonna restrict it, which I agree with,
Right.
I really do, because, we're gonna save some money. But on
Well,
the
we're
other
gonna pass this
hand,
by ordinance, that can be put into the ordinance, yeah.
Out there until the work
it's
is
gonna
out.
sit like it's gonna be like a junkyard unless
Yeah.
there's some kind of restriction so that, or ordinance,
Yeah.
resolution or something that they can't put it out before a certain, say, the first Monday.
Right, but that's not on the carrier. That's
Right.
not on the.
Well, what I'm
Right.
saying is, that's why I
For the
wanted to bring it up
citizens.
now, in the
So we have
early
an
stages.
6 months
Otherwise,
later, we're still having things put out.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
Well, limbs fell during the
Well,
winter
they're not going,
and the
But we
storm,
don't pick them up anymore.
yeah.
it's probably not clear to
No,
a
it's
lot
not.
of the citizens, cause somebody just told me about some names that wasn't picked up,
Yeah, I saw them picking them up on Augusta right after I picked mine up.
you know.
So anyway,
Right.
let's get back to focused on the RFP, because we wanna get it out.
Yeah.
So, once a month bulk pickup, does it require a phone call? Or is that a negotiating, is that more of a negotiating thing with when the contract's made?
Yeah, I would say if it's once a month, then we'll just change it to monthly bulk pickup.
Okay,
Yes.
And ask for their bid price, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty
Is
with
there a
our
limit
truck.
of poundage though?
that's
The
all,
nitty-gritty.
that's in the RFP, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we can define stuff in the RFP, that way they know what they're bidding on, cause that may be a question that they ask, but, it just says can be handled by 2 people, that's what's in the
Right.
scope right now.
All right,
So,
that's broad enough for an RFP then, yeah.
so when we had contact with, Waste Management, when we would call them, they would prefer us to call and let them know that we had,
Right.
something, so they could have an extra driver. I mean, it's like, they might just come with one, not knowing that they got a couch or a refrigerator. So,
That's all you have to do now, don't we? They have to call it in.
Yeah.
Well, we're supposed to.
Under
have-
contract, no,
No.
they're just
Should
supposed,
not.
Oh.
they're
They're
supposed to
supposed to
send
do
that
it.
truck around with 2 people every month, but,
Oh, did it?
Every Monday.
oh yeah, every week.
Every week.
I will tell you, there's also a provision in here about fines, if there's a, like, bona fide missed pickup that they don't come back and get within 24 hours, then we can fine them as the city. So, that's in the RFP, hopefully that makes it into the contract.
Hopefully.
So let me ask, how does it work right now? When people call for bulk pickup, it's just part of their base fee?
Yep.
They don't pay anything extra for pickup?
Are you looking for anything else, input before you,
Unless, someone has anything to offer, but that was,
that was the,
basically, that's the only change that we have from our base service right now. And so, unless there's any other changes we would like to our base service.
well, there was the,
What
ma-
about customer
go ahead,
service?
Karen. Oh, I'm sorry, Karen, please, and then Debbie, you.
How will our people know that it's gonna be once a month, or they don't have a letter sent to them, it's gonna be from, because I can just see Ward One's gonna be a hot mess.
Yeah.
Ward
So
two.
in the RFP, again, so I mean, we've got that stipulated in the RFP, and then, so that they know what we expect when they bid. And so these are very likely to make it into the contract, and in here, we have about, they have to send a mailer when they take on service, and a brochure.
Yeah,
And,
because we didn't get any of that. It's all been
Yeah,
falling
so-
on me.
As the bidder, they're gonna look at that, and they're gonna, I mean, everything we put in there that sounds nice to us, they're gonna work that into the price. But yeah, I think that's really necessary, the communication part.
So there was some mention of a senior citizen discount because of the number of seniors we got. I'm personally opposed to that because of the number of seniors we got. You would put a tremendous burden on any young family out there because somebody's gonna subsidize that payment. It's not gonna be the trash hauler. So if you've got a huge population of seniors, somebody's gonna pick up that tab, and it's the young family that just moved in. So I would say keep the fee the same for everybody. We don't have to monitor people's ages and,
What about their customer service? They sent us a survey. I filled it out. In their customer service, so like when you call, you have to keep pressing the button 15 times. So it's true.
well,
I mean-
our past experience will be part of what we determine who we go with when these bids come in.
Yeah, there is some language in 3.8 through 3.10 that will hopefully make it into the contract regarding standards of customer service, so you could look into that. I mean, again, hopefully, you know, with these national chains, their customer service is what their customer service is. Normandy's not gonna get a special call center. But we can try and work stuff into the contract and hopefully take that into account when we're choosing bidders, our past experiences and.
Yeah,
other
and
people's
then,
reports.
encourage people to do their stuff online. It is very much simpler, or, if you pay your bill online, you can get all your information, you can contact them about special stuff. So that might require some kind of a notice from the city to say that, okay, this is what we're gonna be doing, and that you should be hearing from them. But when we got Republic, they send me an email, and it's often last minute, and I don't have everybody's email address, and I'm not even an elected officer at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we,
Please.
What about the seniors that, I mean, we're not talking about a senior discount, but what about the seniors, and there's probably 20 to 30 that are still on those walkers, they can't put their trash out? What do we do? We used to have the sticker in the window.
We still got valet service
Yeah,
for
valet
those
service.
folks.
We still have it?
Yeah,
yeah, and it's in this contract, right now we have 8 people signed up,
Okay.
so letting the contractor know what they're getting into, and, yeah, that's non-negotiable, it's in there.
Okay.
So they have to sign up for that curbside?
They sign up with us for the
Oh,
curbside.
okay. I didn't know.
And we make sure, we check their occupancy permit, make sure their grandson isn't living with them.
because if their grandson's living with, he's gonna take the trash out.
Yeah, yeah, and, verify that there is, either they're elderly and can't move, or there's a doctor's
Yeah,
note.
because we had to deal with that when we first got the contract with
Right.
Westminster.
Yeah,
So we're gonna go over that again.
and if we do end up changing there, I promise there will be similar headaches, no matter what. And
Yeah, because I think a lot of people
What
elderly
about the
people didn't
service?
understand that they could do that.
Well, it's not just elderly, there has to be a disability, you have to be physically not capable
Right.
of getting that can to the curb.
Some days I can,
Some days I can't, some days I can't.
All depends on what you put in it, huh?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I can get down there.
What about the service that, they call you like for, Easter Monday, they're gonna start a service? But I didn't find out about that until a customer service person, signed me up. So couldn't it be an automatic sign up for people instead of just getting that haphazardly? Because one of the customer service people knew about that? It's very a nice service.
Which service is that?
So they'll call you like in the bad weather, or if they delay service, they email me and they say, the pickup's gonna be on Tuesday now, there's something that happened, expected on Tuesday.
I think probably that's another thing that's negotiated with the contract, what service do you have
Yeah,
available?
yeah.
I'm not sure that needs to be part of the RFP.
I don't know, but I mean, when they do sign up people, or we change over, the new contract, could that be part of the discussion that, have it within, the billing system where they can, on the bill, say, I want this or something,
Okay, yes.
Yeah, it's also on the website too.
Yeah, the website.
All right, I think I got what I needed, and
All
so
right.
we will post this next week, and then hopefully have some responses in May, and then hopefully pick one pretty quickly, that way they have time to set up, to take over in December.
Thank you. I would like, I can't find my copy, but that's okay. I'm gonna pass these out there, they're cheat sheets.
We got TBD on the agenda first.
Oh, okay, well, I'm already standing up, so I'll pass this up, pass these out, then we'll go to TDD. I think you got one already, don't you, Debbie?
maybe.
Parliamentary procedure?
Say what,
Uh,
in the packet?
yeah.
Yeah, I believe it's in here.
I don't see it.
All right, I'll just set that
Is it stapled together?
there. It is. Oh, it's stapled separately.
Oh, then I don't have it.
Okay, next item on the agenda, item number 3, Transportation Development District update. We passed a resolution, it's been a year ago, to move forward with this TDD, it's called Transportation District. It's a group of cities that come together to form a district, just like a fire district, okay? That imposes a tax. And what they're gonna go after is a 1% tax. So far, everybody's been on board on this, and this is gonna come, for us to participate in this plan, we have to pass this ordinance, I believe, at the May meeting. to participate in this group that's gonna, it's gonna create an ordinance, it's gonna go to the polls. And if we choose to join this group, it's gonna be a vote among the entire district. It could actually fail in Normandy and still pass. So once we pass this, we're part of the group, and please correct me if I misstate any of this.
That is correct.
Okay. So in May, is it this ordinance or resolution that, I think it's in the form of a resolution,
Yes.
that we agree to become part of this. I will say 99% of the wrinkles have been ironed out. I will tell you, if we were to pass a 1% tax in Normandy just for, and this is just roads and streets, that's what this tax is being passed for. If we passed it in Normandy, versus being a part of this TDD, because this is it's a pool tax, we're gonna make a lot more money being part of the TDD. Now, 20% of this is carved out for special projects that could go to any city or group of cities. 80% is allocated per street mile, and that's really to our advantage. If they took the 20% that's allocated for special projects and they burnt it in the incinerator, we would still be better off with the 80% that's being allocated. We win with this thing if it passes. So what I'm asking the council, is there any additional explanation? Is everybody on board with it? Is there any questions? If need be, we can have a presentation that I would prefer not to have at the next meeting from Beyond Housing, because I don't think we need it. I think everybody's been on board. So are there any questions about what this is? Go ahead.
I just want to add, so the process, what the resolution would actually do is it would authorize us to file, and all of the other municipalities to file a petition to go to a judge. It would also kind of set more or less in stone the provisions and the inner workings that mayor has laid out. And then it will go to a vote of the people. So, like, as he mentioned earlier, so this is just to send it to the vote of the people. This isn't necessarily locking it in, but as he said, Normandy says no and everyone says yes, then they can be outvoted.
Well, bottom line, we're committing Normandy residents to the will of the bigger population of people. So if we pass this, like I said, it could fail in Normandy and still pass, and Normandy residents would be committed, and the city of Normandy would be committed to this sales tax.
Right.
I'm very much in favor of moving forward with this thing.
What about the voting situation? You said that the voting situation, that we only have one vote and our population is much larger.
My concern is no longer there, because we've ironed out the concerns that I had, that we would be bullied with this voting process. Those terms are all ironed out, that they're not gonna even be voted on. As I mentioned, one concern was the 20% that is for special projects. If we were bullied with that 20%, each mayor, what Councilwoman Rosso is referring to is, each mayor has a vote as to how this money gets spent, but only 20% of it is gonna be voted on as to how it gets spent. Well, each mayor having a vote, I have a population of 4,300 people. There's several smaller municipalities that have populations of 400 people. So if a lot of these smaller municipalities got together, they would have a much more powerful voting per resident. They'd have more voting power, and that was a concern. But we ironed out the details so that it's not a concern anymore. We've got all the concerns ironed out in writing. And like I said, that's why I mentioned, if they took that 20% and we never saw a penny of it, we're still better off.
Yeah,
And that's where we needed to get to.
And all those conditions are worked as part of the petition, so they can't be changed.
Right, because when we were looking at it, we were so small, and so our people would be paying a disproportionate amount, because they'd be paying the 1%, but the likelihood that, and we'd still have one vote, but the likelihood that, any amount of money that would come to us wouldn't be enough to really do anything. Yeah, so, And all the municipalities that join this have to be contiguous, they have to touch. So if Normandy didn't do this, then Belnora couldn't do it and others couldn't do it.
It would fall apart.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, we were the cog, we were in the middle of the whole picture. So anything you'd like to add? All good? So this is gonna come, this resolution is coming to the meeting at the May meeting.
Yeah, I don't see what, there is a pie chart as part of the packet that kind of gives some numbers and stuff. So you can take a look at that before the next meeting if you want.
Pretty good. All right. Next item, discussion of parliamentary procedure. I've given you a handout, kind of a cheat sheet.
I need one.
Oh, have it. There. So, at our last meeting, things got chaotic, and that falls on me. Sometimes when I try to be flexible and allow some latitude, then I also allow things to get out of hand. And I'm still learning, as all of you are still learning. But I do want to reinforce the parliamentary procedures that we've committed ourselves to, and I hope I have my copy, which I no longer have. I wanted to refer to some notes. But anyway, what particularly troubling is people, oh good, I found my notes. Just people speaking out without being recognized. And when one person's talking, there shouldn't be another conversation going on. Sometimes I hear people talking while the person that's been recognized is talking. Read these over. It will really, really help us run a more professional meeting. In here it says stand to be noticed. I don't want people to stand up to be recognized. Just, Mayor, I like the floor. I've heard you and I'll recognize you. But until you're recognized, allow the person that's speaking to speak. And again, there shouldn't be, you shouldn't hear any side conversations. I had another thing in here that should be helpful.
Mayor, if I may.
Please.
I wanted to also mention that the keeping order, it falls mainly to the chair, but not only to the chair, right? So there are opportunities, and David's not here. David's the one who's usually pretty liberal with this. Council members, other members of the body can request what's called a point of order, right? If something's going on and the chair misses it, any member of the body can request a point of order. Once the chair recognizes the point of order, all of the debate stops, and there's no need for a second, and the chair immediately makes a decision as to whether or not, well, the person calling the point of order articulates what it is that they believe is out of order, and at that point, the chair makes a decision as to whether or not the complaint, or whatever it is out of order. Or if in his discretion, he can kick it to the council as an entirety to vote on whether or not the issue is out of order. So it does also fall to everybody to keep an eye on what's going on and to call points of order, right? So I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And in addition to that, if I make a ruling on a point of order, you can also, I appeal the chair's decision. If I make a ruling and the council doesn't agree with it, I appeal the chair's decision. And then that motion is made. I don't even think it needs a second. Must be seconded, yes. I appeal the chair's decision, that motion's made, it's seconded, and the majority of the council can overrule any decision I make. But I will tell you, keeping order in a meeting is difficult. Trying to allow people to speak and maintaining order at the same time is not an easy chore. And if someone's intent on disruption, there's gonna be disruption. It's very difficult to stop. But,
There's also a very useful PowerPoint presentation that I believe was given at the 2023 MML conference. It's up on the MML's One Stop page, which I'm happy to download a copy of that and share that so that everyone can utilize that as a tool as well. Anytime anyone has any questions about parliamentary procedure, I'm happy to answer questions about parliamentary procedure. I know Kiana and Sam both have a pretty strong knowledge of parliamentary procedure. We're all happy to answer questions that come up. If anyone just, is is curious, right? It's complex and it takes practice, but getting a command of those skills really lends itself to a smooth meeting.
And for a workshop like this, we're polite to each other. We don't strictly follow Robert's rules. We're just trying to be productive here. But when we get to a meeting, this is gonna be really helpful in us projecting a professional image to the people that come to that meeting. It helps us get through a meeting. And a couple of things that I've brought up before, and I want to just to reinforce them. Questions, all questions should be directed to the chair. And if you want to speak, Mayor, and then I recognize you, versus standing up, as you, in this environment, I think standing up is a little impractical. So wait till you're recognized. And there's another one we're gonna start enforcing at meetings, not at workshops, because we need to iron things out. But at meetings, when there's a motion made, a member is limited to speak once to a motion. So it's not, you speak, there's a response, you speak, there's a response, somebody else speaks, there's another response. So a member is limited to speak once. So after we have our workshop and everybody has their position and we iron things out, when an issue goes to a meeting, there's gonna be a motion, there's gonna be a second, and when we debate, each person's gonna speak once to that motion, and then we're gonna vote. Rather than going back and forth and beating things to death at an open public meeting.
Let me ask one question.
Please.
If somebody comes with a list of questions that are all pertaining to whatever's on the table, what I saw in the meeting last week was that some people were saying, well, move along, we've already discussed that, move along, move along. But I think if their person is in order, there should be some time for them to finish what they're trying to ask.
Well, that one was troubling to me too. A point of inquiry should have been made on each one of those.
Yeah, I mean, I just was kind of just jumping.
Point of inquiry, port of inquiry, port of inquiry. I would like to limit a council person's time. I don't have that authority.
All right.
I don't have it. If the council were interested in putting that in our ordinance to add that authority, then I would. I would say I recognize council person whoever for 5 minutes, and then it would be 5 minutes, and then it would expire. But right now, I don't have the authority to do that. Once you're recognized, you speak to the motion, and then when you're done speaking to the motion. That's how it exists now.
So our opening statement is the 3-minute rule, right?
Right, that, we put that in
So,
ordinance.
In other
Yeah.
words, what we're saying is that when we go into explaining things, we can really go all night and explain it.
Well, you could unless somebody called the question, which I'm,
If
can
you
I
got
phrase that
questions-
right?
Move the question.
Move the question.
Move it, okay.
If you're tired of the debate, you can say, I move the question. So whatever motion is made, I move the question.
Move that one question.
Yep, and then
So I
somebody
gotta keep
second.
doing it all.
No, you move the
Okay.
question, which means whatever motion we're discussing,
Right.
you move the question, it's seconded, the council votes, and if your motion is accepted, that ends debate. We vote on it.
Okay.
So it can be, debate can be stopped, but it has to be stopped by the majority of the council.
Okay.
So you say, someone can say move to.
I move the question.
Previous question.
Thank you, I move the previous question. So typically, there's a motion made, there's a second. That initiates the debate. If there's no base motion and there's no second, we're not debating the issue.
Right.
There's not the support for that. So there's a motion made, I second the motion. And then I generally say, is there any questions, is there any comments, and then I'll recognize somebody.
Okay, that's the part that I'm asking about, when people are asking questions about something, is there a limit on the number of questions that they can ask?
You know what? I don't know the answer to that. I really
It
don't.
ain't. You can stay up all night asking
Yeah,
questions.
well, then that's
Well,
where
and
somebody
that's-
moves the previous question.
Exactly, that's where it falls to the board or the council
I move the previous question and we end debate. But the concern there is one person has had the floor, and if you move the previous question, no one else gets to speak to that issue. So the only way that I see, if that is an issue, that we put that in the form of an ordinance as to how we manage our debates on an issue. That there's a limit to the time a person has to speak to any particular motion.
I do think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I do think under Robert's rules, unless there's like, you only get to speak to a motion once.
Right.
Unless, there's like a question brought back to the person. But generally, you only get to speak to
You
a
only
question
get to, correct, I believe that's correct. yeah.
So here's, I think,
But-
I think what Kevin's concern is, the person that makes the motion has the right to speak to the motion first. If a person makes a motion and it's seconded, and that motion is filibustered by the first person, well, do you call to the previous question and then end debate where nobody else has had a chance to speak?
I'd have to look, we could look into that.
Yeah.
And this is more
That's
my
interesting.
personal issue. I don't think anyone's intentionally filibustering.
No,
I just think
I
it's-
don't think it was filibustering, but, and I don't think that's gonna be a problem. I really don't. That comes up on occasion. We did have a serious issue that there were serious questions and they needed to be addressed, and that can get frustrating when it goes on and on. But I think the problem that we do have is speaking twice to the same motion. I think that'll help a lot. If a person speaks to the motion, then they're done speaking to the motion. And everybody has a chance to state their position.
Got it.
There's also, I think, an issue where we maybe want to distinguish procedure during a council meeting and during a public hearing, because we also remember had a public hearing at the last meeting.
And that was on me, I
And-
totally.
And there should be
believe that,
debate
yeah.
during a public hearing, right? That's the purpose of the public hearing is for the public to come in and actually hear the council discussing really what the conditions on that SUP are.
I
going to
see,
be,
yeah.
right? So.
Yeah,
so-
versus a motion and speaking once to the motion,
Right.
and there's a public hearing. There's
But really, the
a back
proper,
and forth about the,
absolutely.
Right.
And the proper way to really do that is to, again, go to the code and set forth procedures for, in the ordinance, really break it down. Here's what's gonna apply at a council meeting. Here's what the procedure is going to be during a public hearing. Here's what the procedure, or lack thereof, is going to be during a workshop, right? To facilitate the different
I
purposes
think
of
that would
each.
be helpful. I do. I do think it would be helpful. And then everybody's treated fairly that way.
Okay, so in the case of responses from the public, because I got a little feedback from people on the last meeting who kind of felt that they didn't get a chance to say what they wanted to say. First of all, the meetings in the village are much smaller. We have, so if there's a motion on the table for an ordinance or whatever, and somebody has a question, then they're usually able to ask the question. If it's not pertaining to what we're talking about, we put it off and then come back to it later. But in the way that I've seen the council meetings work here is that only the council people get to speak to anything having to do with an ordinance. People.
And that's correct. And if we open it to the public, the meetings would be never ending. But what we also do is have the first reading, and then most of us are willing to stay behind and answer any questions, talk to anybody
Got it.
about any questions they might have. But that's why I'm sorry.
Well, no, and also there's two opportunities on the agenda where, a member from the public can actually bring their questions at the top of the meeting or after the meeting, or towards the end of the meeting.
Yeah, toward the end of the meeting, the stuff's already been passed.
Right, but
Toward
at
the
the
beginning of the meeting, they don't know what's going on.
Well, we do try to provide agendas
I
on the
know.
table, and if they have that question, they can bring the question.
And again, and
first.
that's why I'm very hesitant to have two readings in the same night,
Got it.
so that people have an opportunity to absorb what was said. They may come back at the next meeting and say, oh, heck no. I looked into this and I don't like that, or whatever it might be,
Mayor,
right?
Mayor,
doing
excuse
good.
me.
Please.
I'm thinking that, this was a town hall meeting for the citizens. And,
No, it's really not a town hall.
Not now. I'm talking about last week, wasn't it town?
It was a public hearing.
Right, that's what I'm saying, public.
Right.
So public hearing means we want the citizens to come in and speak about what was going on in the city and the place down there
Right,
every time.
and they had an opportunity to
Yeah, I
do
know,
that.
but what I think that, I'm agreeing with, what Ms. Vicky said, that a lot of them were cut off. They were cut off, we were here for 4 hours.
I'm not aware anyone was cut off.
You don't, you talk.
No, I don't believe
Now,
anyone was cut
sometimes
off.
people are
Citizens
speaking-
Right, people were speaking out of turn. I think
The
there was
last
some-
ordinance that we passed had a 5-minute timer and no one, someone got very close. They had like
Yeah.
5 seconds left,
Yeah,
but no one hit that 5 minutes in the public.
yeah, everybody.
In the public hearing portion.
Right, right, no one was cut off, they had an opportunity. But what it can't become is a question and answer period among the citizens.
Yeah, because that can get very.
That gets out of control. And and again, that was on me. When the first person got up to speak, said, I have some questions. Well, that's not an opportunity for questions, but I did allow the applicants to make a brief statement, which I wish they had said more, and it would have ended the question portion. But that fell on me. I should never have let that run the way it did. Public hearing, people come up, they say what they want to say, they sit down, and then we discuss what we heard about that input and make a decision from there.
Got it. Yeah, I think just people probably just need a little bit of explanation, because some of our folks aren't, you know, they're used to the way we did meetings. And, you know, we followed the law in terms of how we had to pass ordinances or stuff, but they were small meetings, they were more casual, sometimes they did get a little rowdy, but, but, they don't understand, and so I think there's
Fair enough. Some
yeah,
explanation at the front end of the meeting.
Some explanation at the
Yep,
front end
yep.
of the meeting. This
Good.
is how we're gonna do this.
I can do that. All right, like I say, I think bringing this to this workshop, it seems like we address this more often than we probably should. We have to just keep working at being professional about how we run a meeting.
And I thought we voted before that, when we're up there for our monthly meeting, that we just supposed to have our hand up and wait to be acknowledged, or we
We-
never said mayor.
Well, we voted to, we've always adopted Robert's rules. I don't know what we voted on. I think we had a conversation about how we would proceed.
Yeah,
But the city, it's already in our ordinance that we operate our meetings under Robert's rules.
I think one of the differences of being up there and being down here is that you can see everybody's face.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't see people's faces up there, so you
Right.
don't know whether they're trying to talk or whether they're trying to ask a question or whatever. And I think if you can look somebody in the eye, there's a different kind of
Yeah,
communication.
well, I will take that to heart, that
Yeah.
explanation of how the meetings run for the public too. It's when they'll have an opportunity to speak and again, another thing I want to reinforce, when people are making public comment, it's not an opportunity to start a conversation about whatever they bring up. They say what they want to say, they sit down, there's no obligation, and I don't want the council to address or ask questions of somebody speaking at a public meeting. They're there to tell you what they think.
Right.
And it shouldn't generate questions from us. And like I said before, if there's a response required, if there's a question asked, and I determine that a response is appropriate, I'll either answer their question or direct them to whatever department head may be able to answer that question, or I may say thank you, because I can see that it's gonna turn into a long-winded, or I may say, hey, I'm happy to stay after the meeting and talk to you.
Got it.
But we don't wanna generate conversations from the podium from people making public comments. And that happens a lot too.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
mean,
oh,
it
don't
becomes
ask a
a-
question. They're just there to give you their input, right?
Yeah, and some folks will just, you know, you'll be on this and they'll go back there. Wait a minute, I want to talk about, no, you can't do that. You need to.
Yeah, and
gently
I need
be
to
told them that.
educate the public too when they come to the podium.
Got it.
It's not an opportunity to create a debate. It's there for them to voice their opinion about whatever issue. But again, I need work on it, we need work on it, and I think we just keep striving to make these meetings as professional as we can and project that image of professionalism. All right? Yes, please.
Now, I observed when residents would come up, they'd go on and on and on. And so I had this conversation with you. I think they were wanting to realize, am I being heard? So if there's just an acknowledgement of maybe rephrasing what they said, that they understand that they've been
It's like
heard.
counseling.
I don't know where that fits in with there, but I think that could be a helpful.
Yeah, you might, and you have to do it, but you're the one who's in charge. Say, okay, I understand that your concern is this, and then you rephrase it, and then they say, okay, thank you for giving that.
Yeah, and I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I know.
Yep. Thank you, yeah, all right. I'll tell you what, this is real helpful, like Annie was saying, it's confusing, but there's some real common ones that'll help keep the meeting in order. So just take a look, see at them. All right, go ahead, please.
Excuse me. Was really, okay, so we're sitting up here in this meeting. And we all, we're all learning. I'm learning. I'm gonna do better, I'm gonna try better. But I'm gonna tell you one thing. I'm gonna say what's on my mind with respect. And I'm really, I guess nobody has a problem with a 4 or 5 hour meeting here. 'Cause nobody said nothing about it. Nobody said anything about it. Before I became council, when I was here, under the old administration, we had people, why is this meeting so long? Why did we have a workshop? This is why we got a workshop, to prevent that.
There were a lot of things on that.
It was a lot of things, and we could do it, but we could deal with it. The citizens were the most important people up in here that day. We listened to them, but then when it came to the council, it was like, and so we sitting up here, first of all, we gotta be fair. And can nothing around here be personal?
Right.
And I can say personally, since I've been here before the board, I've seen personal people come have agenda that's personal. So all I'm saying is that let's remember where we came from under the old administration, when I was sitting back there watching y'all up here, and I'm like, for real? And there's some of the same people that was complaining back then, they got a whole new agenda now. So if you guys I don't want to be here for 4 hours for a meeting. So let's work on that.
I think this will help, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that one of the things, and Andy, he's not here.
He had to take a call, I think.
Yeah, if the meeting is going particularly long like it did last time, and there are things that we haven't gotten to at all yet, is it possible to ask for things to be tabled to the next meeting?
Yes, yes, and that's,
Postpone, not
Yeah, postpone.
Yeah.
And so at some point, if it's going on hour 3, we might say, can we table the rest of the
Postpone it.
agenda
Okay.
until the next meeting?
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But in all fairness though, our meetings have been quite condensed for a really long time.
we're
Just
getting,
talking about last week.
yeah, last week was a
That was
bit of a show. But we,
Yeah,
but the fact that it was a public hearing, I kind of anticipated, yeah.
You took that, but,
Yeah. You had something.
once,
All right, let's,
It's very analytical.
moving on. Oh, I'll let Andy speak to this because I think he's recommending we not pass this resolution until after the election because there would be some conflict.
And I would maybe rather discuss that in closed session. but-
Okay.
Well, I don't really want to discuss it in open session,
yeah, let's
but
go, yeah.
Okay, whatever.
There's
So-
recommendation.
unless it's an emergency to pass this, I think the belt and suspenders approach would be to delay passing this until, I would say, after membership changes
Right,
on the council.
Is there a motion to postpone resolution 2408
motion.
to the next meeting? So there's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
I will explain that further in closed session.
Thank you. Which, here we are. Is there a motion to go into closed session? Oh, that's more of an update than anything, the city newsletter.
Yeah, I'll just.
Please.
So, I'll acknowledge that, we came up short. There hasn't been a newsletter. I will say that with Angela Dorn retiring our job duties have shifted a little bit, and we are saving a lot of money with accounting, but Kiana's time has shifted to much more financially driven and focused than it was before. So we're going to look into getting, looking at outsourcing, finding a printer who can maybe do some of the formatting for us, and we just have to come up with some basic content, because that's what was driving a lot of time before. So we will look into that and get back to you guys on it, and we haven't forgotten about the city newsletter.
Thank you. Please.
I'll talk to Sam later about it.
Okay.
What about resolution 2408 about the forestry advisory committee?
We voted to postpone that to the next meeting, and there'll be an explanation in closed session.
Okay, that's what
Is there a motion to go into closed session to discuss a legal matter?
I'll second.
Who made the motion?
Karen.
Okay.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Faithful?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Councilman Evans?
Yes.
Councilman Nelson? Yes. Councilwoman Rosso?
Yes.
Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you.
Coming back to this room or the other room?
Let's go to the small room. Oopsies.
Yeah, I was just curious.
My dad,